Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co-host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back to another episode of Points. I am Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, also known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, good people?
People, Q Points is your safe space for deep, meaningful conversation about music and the artists that we love and adore. Jay Ray, please tell me you have some good news for me regarding your health. I saw what you posted earlier this week. Say you got some good news today.
I do. So as of about an hour and a half ago, your boy tested negative for COVID. Jesus done freed me. I was praying and really just taking a lot of vitamin C. There's like a whole box of it here. And I'm now COVID free. Sir Daniel, let me tell you what I've learned about COVID in 2022. After having COVID in 2021. Yes, Kipper, it is done now. And what I've learned is COVID's still terrible. Y'all need to put your masks on and stop playing. You don't want it at all. That's what I've learned about COVID in 2022.
Absolutely. COVID is still clanking around out there. I've had 2 coworkers of mine get test positive. Everybody had to scramble and go get tests, and it's still a thing. So please take precautions out there. You know, we don't need another uptick, but I'm very glad that you're doing better, that you're here with us and here with the Q Points family. And y'all are lucky. I'm gonna just say this. It is dead summer for real. And y'all are lucky that I'm here wearing clothes and not pasties over my nipples and nothing else, because it is too hot. It is too hot right about now. It's ridiculous here in Georgia.
Ooh, I heard. Okay, so I'm a shout out, but y'all didn't see Sir Daniel. Definitely, he went and he put this on for y'all, so he was ready to give y'all what he described.
Listen, I'm not trying to do those kind of shows on here. Frankly, y'all would have to pay me a little bit more for that. But we're keeping it we're gonna keep it PG around here. We're gonna keep it PG. For sure. But yeah, it's definitely that time of year. We all cried and prayed for, warmer weather. Well, guess what? We got it, and we're gonna deal with it. And I tell you, that's not the only hot thing that's dropping around here. I woke up this morning and it felt like 2013. Was that 2013 or 2010? It felt like 2013 all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Beyonce has completely overtaken the internet. She's broken it. She said she chose chaos this morning. She said, you know what? I've been quiet for a while. I let you see my daughter out with her dad at the basketball game and whatnot. I think it's time to shake you guys up. And what does she do? She's announced another album. And of course, everybody is gone wild.
Everybody is going wild. So here's the interesting thing. There's a real interesting thing that I'm gonna get to in a minute. The interesting thing about this is, for the first time in 2 album cycles, Beyonce has gone back to a rollout. Beyonce hasn't done a rollout since 4, or because the Beyonce record just dropped, Lemonade just dropped. So this is the first time that we've gotten a glimpse that there's a Beyonce project coming before a Beyonce project arrives. So that's something that's new for 2022.
It really is, because I feel like she's, she has to teach the new kids. There's a right way to do things. Well, no, I won't say that. I don't say there's a right way to do things. Everybody can do things individually, and it's all good. However, as for me and my house, me and my generation, we love a good old rollout. We love to be shocked and amazed. We go in for all of that foolishness. So I'm thankful for it. And like you said, you mentioned Lemonade,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny the topic that we're talking about tonight. Lemonade had so many different genres of music on it, including country music.
Right.
She completely upset all them people on
At the country music
all those
award.
people, and by not only doing a country song, but having the Dixie Chicks perform with her and completely kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're in a really interesting moment. So this is a great time. And we have a lot more that we're going to talk about towards the end of the show about what we have planned. But this is the right time to have that discussion. And Beyonce, along with many other artists, many other Black artists, are ushering in, I think, a new moment in music, in pop music. I think arguably we could say Lil Nas X really did help with kind of this new generation of kind of doing that, even though he's doing something totally different now. But here's my interesting Beyonce note. Beyonce, I gave her my money today. I clicked the button to the Beyonce website, Sir Daniel, put in my credit card information, and hit purchase for this box set that I don't really know what's in it except the CD and maybe a t-shirt.
Maybe. What's so funny is now I've seen people say, well, now we got to go out and find CD players. We gotta,
I don't have that problem, because
listen,
right there.
when you OGs like us, we keep some stuff around, right? But now everybody's going to be hitting up all the pawn shops trying to find CD players. And, it's just dope. I'm kind of with you. I almost did it myself. I was like, but, what's in? Is this just a care package? Am I going to get like some Ivy Park cookies and maybe a CD in here? I don't know. But I think what the bottom line is that what people realize is that Beyonce, more so than other artists, is able to give you quality every single time, whether it's in the packaging, the music itself, the accompanying tour. I know people have broken their banks to go to these tours, but the tours are simply amazing. The shows are amazing. So it's definitely that time for her to do this. And I think I just want to mention, you brought something up really quickly. You said Lil Nas X.
Mm-hmm.
That just made me think of, we're talking about covers and, album covers, magazine covers, because Beyonce is also on the cover of Vogue. Yep. Is it Vogue? Which one?
I can't remember which country it is, but it might be Italia. I'm not sure.
So she's on the cover of Vogue. Mm-hmm. Janet Jackson's is on the cover of Essence magazine.
Slay.
You've got Mary J. Blige is on the cover of Time magazine, which is momentous. That's a whole nother show that we need to talk about. But, the double XL freshman cover is always a source of conversation and discourse. And the only thing I can say, we've all had this conversation about the double XL covers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're of a certain age, you look at that double XL cover, and you start to say, I don't know who these people are, Jesus. Bless their hearts. I have no idea who these people are. But what I will say, Double XL kind of played in Saucy Santana's face by putting him in the back, and I'm talking about way in the back row, almost unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm.
And he is legit the bona fide superstar of that group.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. Well, there's two things that maybe there was some strategic reason why they did this. Saucy Santana, obviously, of all the people on the freshman class, is like a bona fide superstar at this point.
Yeah.
And he was the only one wearing white, which I found I was like, oh, I like that. I like that, giving him something a little bit different. But yeah, I kind of know about Big Scar, who is I think from Memphis. I think I'm getting that right. I'm not to speak about his flow, but I'm familiar with his music. And
Right.
Doechii is
I've heard of her.
I've heard of Doechii. She's from Florida. It's a lot of people from Florida on this cover too, because there's at least 3, which I find really interesting. And because that hasn't always been the case. Like, you know what I'm saying, in hip hop. So yeah, they I wonder if Saucy Santana has had any say in how this went. Probably not, but I don't hate this. Of all the freshman class covers, I'm like, oh, okay, well, we used to it. As old heads, we used to this now. Y'all not going to troll us, Double XL. We just going to look the people up and find out who they are.
That's it. Done and done. So, are we kind of ready? Wait, wasn't there something else that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we've covered everything. Beyonce, She Got My Money, Double XL. No, I think we are ready to bring on the man of the hour.
That's it. Like I mentioned earlier, Beyonce has touched country music. Everybody knows that the Pointer Sisters has touched country music. Oh my God, plenty of what you can black artists have done some type of rendition. Even Nelly has done country music, has touched in his own way, right? But I think this is going to be a really great conversation because I know black people have a certain energy around country music, but like I've always said, all of this stuff belongs to us, really. Like all of this music we've kind of created it. So, and country music is no different.
Right.
And you had the pleasure of meeting this brother not too long ago, and tell him how you met and
yes.
And bring him on.
Yeah. So, back in March, Q Points had the opportunity to represent at Podcast Movement Evolutions out in LA. Los Angeles, because not Louisiana. So we were out in Los Angeles and I went to the BIPOC podcast creators meetup. Because I wanted to meet up with people of color. Like, you know how it goes. When you go to these big conferences, I need to find my people. So, and I love the BIPOC podcast creators. I am a member of their Facebook group, and we will put the link so that y'all can learn about them in the description. Went to their meetup, and I had seen this brother several times throughout the conference. It's a conference. You notice the black people. You know what I'm saying? So I had passed this brother several times at the conference, and he was at the thing, and I was like, oh my God, this might be verbatim. We'll find out in a minute when Mike comes on. But I was like, I have seen you several times, but this is the first time we've like shared space. Hey, and we started talking. I don't even know how the fact that country music came up in our conversation, but it did. And I was like, we need to do a country show. And it was like and then so here we are. Anyway, we're going to bring on the amazing podcast producer, just all around good dude. Big Mike is here with us on Q Points. What's happening, man?
What's up,
Welcome,
guys? How
Mike.
are you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys have treated me very well. Like, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm seeing my face everywhere. So, if you're not careful, my wife might have to
Hey,
kick me out because I've gotten
Too
it's gotten
famous.
too it's gotten too much.
we will gas you just a little bit around here. We definitely do that.
Well, I
But
appreciate
but
that.
was
Thank you.
absolutely was J Ray correct in the conciseness of how you two started talking at the conference and how you two kicked it off?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. I don't remember exactly how we got onto country. I'm not sure, but after that, it was kind of like a rocket. Me and that's literally all we talked about for the rest of the evening. But yeah, no, it that conference was a new experience for me all the way around because I had been kind of building my own production company, Defiantly Me, and so that was kind of my first conference to get immersed in the podcast like world, and it was a very eye-opening. But I had gotten to like the second or third day, and I came home every night and I was like, I really haven't talked to anybody. I don't know how these things go, right? Sometimes you go up to talk to somebody and they're like, this guy wants something. I genuinely don't want anything except the exchange of ideas and knowledge. That's essentially what I look for, right? And so it wasn't until like the last day, I think, of the conferences where I met J Ray. And then I come home and I go, of course it's the last day that I find my people, right? I find my tribe. And my wife was like, it's okay. I was like, I'm gonna find a way. I had started thinking about it, about how we could work together immediately. Because I gravitate towards people who are creative, people who are constantly trying to push something forward. And J Ray, man, he it was like lightning. When I came home and I was like, I met this guy. He sounds awesome. I think we might work together. Like it was a whole thing. And my wife was like, slow down, slow down. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll slow down. But no, I mean, it was kind of like that. It's just we clicked, and then he introduced me to Sir Daniel, and everything just seemed to work out. And so it's been awesome to getting to know you both and in watching you guys do this show. And I think it's an amazing show, and I think what you guys do is fantastic.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
man.
Thank you.
Um, let's talk a bit about so let's talk about the shows first. So we're going to get
Okay,
into some
okay.
country stuff in a minute, but um I remember when we first started talking and you started to describe, I think, treat yourself like a toddler first. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, yes, sometimes I just want a nap. You know what I'm saying? And we got into this whole conversation and
Yeah.
treat yourself like a toddler. So tell us a bit like about the Homework podcast, which just had a new episode drop today, and treat yourself like a toddler. I think the folks will want to learn about those.
Sure. Yeah. The both of them are both about mental health, and they're both hosted and co-hosted by women of color. And one of them happens to be my stepmom on the Homework. So I work with my stepmom, and who has been in the HR field for 30 years. She worked for Marriott for over 30 years. And then her friend who's an acupuncturist, her name is Joy, and they wanted to do a podcast together. And so I was like, what an interesting combination, especially during the pandemic. These two podcasts became something during the pandemic. And I said, what an interesting combination of a career HR person and an acupuncturist coming together to talk about not just the physical body and the mental body, but also your career. And also tied up in that is I had lost my career. Like I had worked in radio for almost about 5 years just to get to a point where I was on air. And the pandemic happened and it was kind of took my chessboard and flipped it all over. And so it interests me because I think a lot of people were feeling the same way I was. And so Charlene, who's my stepmother, and Joy, who's the acupuncturist, they kind of came together, and I felt like they're kind of a dynamic duo because you don't realize how much your career is tied to the person who you are, right? And so you don't understand how much it is until you lose something that you've been working for. I've been working for it to be on air. My Saturday weekend slot, I earned it. I put in the time. I started in promotions, and I'm not young anymore, fellas. I'm 40. So when I
Right.
started, there were kids younger than me. And so I remember, being on my feet 12, 13 hours a day, coming home and barely being able to walk the next day because I had to get up and do it again. So, but yeah, like this podcast, like I think covers a wide range of a person, right? The individual, and that's really what they talk about and in the homework. And then treat yourself like a toddler in the same realm, but a completely different thing. I met with Roseanne Fenton, who is a licensed therapist who has also done children therapy as well in Washington, D.C. And I met her through the homework. She was a guest. And then she asked this question one day. She was like, how often do you treat yourself like a toddler? And I was like, what a weird concept. As an adult, you try your hardest to grow up and be an adult, not treat yourself like a toddler. And this question, like, is just a very interesting question. And she said the problem, a lot of issues with adults today is because they do not serve themselves. They're constantly giving a piece of themselves to someone else, whether that be a job, a spouse, a partner, or a child or children. And you forget to be a child. And if you think about a toddler, they're one of the most self-centered humans on this planet, right? They want what they want when they want it at that moment. And they're if they want a nap, they'll sleep in the middle of the floor. That's how they are, right? And so then she's been talking to her clients about this. Being, if you need a nap, go take a nap. In the middle of the day, if you need a nap, go take a nap. You got to listen to those things. And as adults, we've learned to ignore them. And so that show is a completely different, while in the same realm, right? It's completely different because this is about serving yourself completely, right? Making sure that you cannot be there for someone else if you can't take care of yourself. And so these two podcasts have created this weird space for me because I had done movie podcasts. I had done kind of a general podcast when I was with iHeart, and I'd done a sports podcast, but a mental health podcast I didn't even think about. And so it's taken me down this weird journey with these two podcasts. I mean, and that same journey led me to Podcast Movement, of course. And so I've been enjoying the ride, and I've had a great time producing both of them. And these are the first two podcasts that I wasn't a co-host on. All the other podcasts I had been co-hosts on, and this was the first time where I wasn't actual like talking head. I was the guy pushing the buttons, making sure things get up, and I enjoyed that journey. Like it gives you a different perspective of the people behind the camera, and a lot more respect for those people behind the camera. So, but yeah, that's essentially these two podcasts in a nutshell. I know I took a long time explaining those, but that's essentially how I got there
Yeah.
and why these two exist.
I love that. As a matter of fact, I too am part of the congregation of the Nap Ministry. I'm all about it. I love, my friends will tell you, they say I'm a cat because I will curl up and fall asleep any and everywhere. But Mike, I listening to you speak about your history, I was having flashbacks because you and I connect in that we both did the radio thing for a while. You said you were there, you did it for 5 years. I was in the game for about 7. And when you talked about putting in that work, and sometimes it felt thankless, because radio. People think radio, anybody can do radio, but radio is almost as what's the word I'm looking for? Radio is its own kind of table in the cafeteria of popular kids. Even in radio, as they say, you have a face for radio. The people on radio, they do select them. They're selected and projected for a multitude of reasons. Also, because radio is not just what you hear on the air, but they also do other forms of media. and have to market these people as well. But I say all that to say, I feel you in radio, finding your tribe, finding where you fit in is like a non-stop um, journey. And I just think, the fact that you were in country radio, because I was over at one of the blackest stations here in Georgia. But I'm just wondering, what was that experience like for you as a black man in radio, but you're delving off into a format where they typically don't expect to see us working in that format? What was that like for you?
It was a very interesting transition, to be honest. I had been at iHeart DC for probably maybe 1 to 2 years by right now, and I had an opportunity to come across where they were offering apprenticeships in different departments. And I knew when I stepped in the door at iHeart 2 years prior is that the goal was to be on air. And so when an opportunity came across my path to do an apprenticeship on air, I was like, man, I definitely will jump at that opportunity. And so then I started to think about where I wanted to do my apprenticeship, right? What station, because there are 5 stations in that cluster. And there isn't an urban station at all, because there's no urban station, but there is a pop station there. There's a rock station, oldies, and then of course WMZQ, which is the country station. And so I went home and talked to my wife, and I go, well, pop is going to be when I think about future, because I'm always trying to think 2 or 3 moves ahead. It's a chess thing for me, and I love the game. But I was like, well, where can I be different, right? Where can I find my niche to sit and really be unique? And I said, well, I can't do that at what they call urban stations. I hate that word and I hate using it, but
Yep.
it's what it's called, right? Urban stations, there's going to be a direct pipeline. There's going to be a clog of people who look like me, who want to be in this genre. And then I was like, pop's kind of the same way, but you're battling not just people who look like you, but people who don't look like
Right.
you, when it comes to those things. And I said, and my wife goes, well, you like country. And I was like, I do like country, don't I? She was, do you think you could pull that off on a radio station? And I said, yeah, why not? And I immediately went and started talking to the assistant PD. Her name is Ty over at WMZQ. She's an awesome person. She gave me my first shot to be an apprentice on WMZQ, which is a top 10 market, right? Just the fact that I was only on for, I think, 2 hours. I was only on for 2 hours. But it was like that time spent on that top 10 market, having the opportunity to put that on your resume, and it was awesome. And I can't thank Ty enough, right? Not just Ty, but his name is Jeff Capucci, who is I believe he's the senior vice president of programming in that market there. And they both gave me an opportunity to be on country radio and to work in that environment. And of course, I have to mention my buddy Kevin White, who gave me the opportunity to get into iHeart. We both went to broadcasting school together. But they were essential in getting me on the air. And Ty, her mentorship and the things that she said really shaped who I was. And so at the end of my apprenticeship, which is about 6 months, they didn't have a spot for me. And I understood that, right? And so Ty put in phone calls to get me on the air in Frederick at WFRE. And not just coming in as a promotion person who happens to do an apprenticeship. This would be my first on-air gig. And so, shout out to her. And then Brian Moe, who was my PD there. And he saw something in me, and he gave me opportunity, right? He gave me a Saturday show. And then he would bring me in on his show when his partner was out, right, during the week. So he gave me opportunity after opportunity. And I found out that there's not a lot of people who look like me in country radio. And so I figured that that's the best place for me to kind of, grind it out and just, hone my craft in country radio, because I thought about guys like Darius Rucker, who came into this business and who came into this genre rather, and then people didn't really give him a lot of credit at first. And he says he had to start at the bottom. Hootie and the
Yep.
Blowfish only took him so far, right?
Isn't that
Yep.
And he said
crazy how
yeah.
huge Hootie and the Blowfish was? I remember when Darius Rucker did the solo album and it was moving in that country direction, and it was like new artists, and I'm like, that's Darius Rucker though.
There,
Yeah. Darius
That's
Rucker
Hootie.
wasn't new. Yeah, it's Hootie, right? He's got his own fame in his own right. But when he transitioned to country, he had to start. He had to start at the bottom. He had to prove himself that he was a legit artist, and a
So
lot of
Mike,
people
I
didn't give
gotta
him
ask
credit
you.
for it.
So Mike, I gotta ask you. So
Yeah,
you got your shifts. You're guest hosting on other people's shifts. You got prime real estate. So I'm gathering that at some point or another, promotions would have you do what they called lot. What did they used to call them? When you do a live broadcast from somewhere,
yeah, the
like at a
remotes,
T-Mobile, huh?
right?
Remotes. That's it.
The remotes,
Remotes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So tell me about your first remote or your first public appearance where their listeners finally got to put the voice with the face, and what was that reaction like? That's
Oh,
what
I'm
I'm.
excited.
The well, I got mixed reactions. Starting with the whole promotions thing, I was out with promotions team, and I worked for technically I worked for all 5 stations, but I did a lot of WMZQ promotions. And there would be people who happened to hear me on my Sunday night, like 11 to 1 o'clock in the morning, just happened to hear those things.
Mhm.
And they were really surprised that I was a person of color, that I was black. And so you can see that their brain is trying to work it out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Buffer, buffer,
you
buffer.
can right. You can really see that their brain is trying to work it out, and then they get to this level of testing your knowledge, right?
ah,
Right? Are you a legit country fan, right? Or are you just a person that they put on the station that you just happen to, cover or whatever it is? And so then they start asking you these questions like they're gatekeepers to this music. And I always think it's funny to me because they ask me these questions and I'm like, and I have an answer for them. It's one of those things of it's just funny to me. One question was asked to me, what song really got you into country music? And I say Alan Jackson, Chattahoochee. And they go, well, so you know this stuff. Yeah, I know this stuff. I listen to country music. This is a thing for me, right? And so it's funny because country music is like a family, but it's also funny about who gatekeeps, about who can do what, right? And so when they start to see something that is not like them, they go, this can't be real. This can't be, this guy can't like country, right? Because this is my country. And this is country was what, this country is the pure fabric of America type stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That rhetoric sounds familiar, doesn't it?
it does. That rhetoric sounds familiar. I'm curious, Mike. How did you discover country? Like, when did that love for country start?
man.
What was that age like? Tell us about that. How did you discover that love for it?
It's really through my dad. My dad loves country music. He loves Willie Nelson. He loves those. I used to, and this day and age, this TV show is very taboo and you can't talk about it as much. But me and my dad used to watch Dukes of Hazzard,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that theme song by Waylon Jennings, just a good old that to me. I was like, man, I love this song. But my dad really was the catalyst to why I love country music, because he loved country music. And the one thing my dad has shared with me, and I thank him for, is his love of music. And just he exposed me to those things. Willie Nelson, then Charlie Pride. Those guys were seminal in my love for country music at that point. So I can't thank my dad enough for that.
Wow. What was the reaction from other folks, particularly Black folks, especially young people. There are, there are genres that country is one of those genres that I have always had a more of a passive love for, where it's like, oh, a song will enter. I'm like, oh, I like that song. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like me actively going to find it all the time. It's like, oh, that fell in my lap and I like it. So it was not something I ever talked about. But for you, what was that interaction with other folks like as you got to talk about your love for country, other Black folks specifically?
Luckily, I have some really, really cool friends who don't subscribe to this thing that Black people only can do quote unquote Black things, right?
Right.
One of my good friends from college, his name's Lawrence. He was like one of the first African Americans that I experienced that wasn't trying to prove something in some way, shape, or form, because I've had some bad experiences, and I love my Black people, but we don't treat each other right sometimes, right? It can cause a little bit of discord because I was different. I grew up in a very mixed neighborhood, right, in Rockville, Maryland, very mixed. So, you can't tell people you like NSYNC because then you instantly become a pariah. And I didn't understand that, right? When I first went to college, like, and then you realize that you're like, oh, this is not okay. Right. And you learn that early. And so I love my boy Lawrence, and shout out he's in the Navy. Shout out to him for sure. But he loved NASCAR. He was a NASCAR fan.
Like
and I said,
right.
No. And I said, wait. Black people love NASCAR, and he said, yeah, he was legit a fan. And so then I started to understand that there are other types of Black people in the world, right? And you get exposed to exposed to people who are geeks and nerds and into these comic book and very heady things that some people would even make fun of. Urkel is one of the most popular characters out there. He's a nerd, if anybody is not keeping up, right? Like, he's a geek, highly intelligent, right? Big brain on that guy. But the way they presented him, he was just unpopular. But you realize now in the world we live in, and what sucks, and it doesn't suck, but like, I grew up in a world where it wasn't as accepting to be a blurred, a Black nerd, right? Now I live in this world, right, where it's okay to be this thing and be something different than what other people think this culture is, what Black people are about. And I like to think that there is a whole multitude of different kinds of African Americans, and people don't understand that. They only see what's presented to them, right, on TV and in social media and movies, all that stuff like that. But there are so many other kinds of Black people in this world that love different kinds of things. And so luckily I had friends who were like that, who understood, who were supportive of those moves. So I didn't face a lot of adversity. Like, and I can imagine some others before me who felt the adversity, who had to really fight through it. But I was surrounded. I had a great support system of people around me, which is probably why I love it even more, is because they were okay with the difference. They were like, Ty didn't have to help me. Jeff Capucci didn't have to help me, right? Brian Moe. These are all white people. They didn't have to help me, but they understood the vision. They understood what I was trying to do. And that was break that barrier and make it okay for a kid who does like his cowboy boots and his cowboy hat in the ghetto to go, you know what, this guy, he loves country music. I think he's cool, right? So it's okay for me to love these people, Keith Urban and Chris Cagle and Alan Jackson and Waylon Gent. Like, it's okay to be that person. And so I decided that I wanted to be that person for other people, right? Like, and if I could, and I would do that as much as possible if I could. So
it's interesting you say that. So listening to you, I was thinking about how we get othered in the community based on what we like, and that's fine. But the thing is, I find it so funny that we get othered when it comes to something that we created. you know,
Right.
you know, country music. Everybody, I believe everybody knows, stems directly from blues,
Mhm.
blue, bluegrass music.
Mhm.
Stems directly from work songs in the field.
Mhm.
These are things that, in its essence, still comes from Black people. And I'm glad you said that, because I feel like you told us your story, because we need to realize that all of these things still come from us, and the fact, if we can appreciate it,
Mhm.
why not? Why not be the person on the radio that's playing the joints for other people to hear? But I'm also very curious about being an artist, a Black artist, that performs country music, and when it comes, that particular piece of music comes, slides in front of a program director, and if the label is smart, they kept it a real generic label or
Right. A
cover,
white label cover.
right? Or if they were bold enough and put the person on the cover, how is that received? Because it's one thing for us to sit as Black people, to sit and enjoy what is presented to us, but when it's um comes in the form of a Black person, of what somebody that doesn't look like Dolly Parton, looks like K Michelle, or
Mhm.
looks like Monica. We heard what happened to Monica at the Country Music Awards. You know, talk about that and the experience of pushing, or did you feel like you had to push artists, like Black artists that perform country music?
Well, luckily, again, I was in such a supportive environment when it came to me being in country radio. But one of those people is Michael J, who is a huge. He's on currently, been in the game for a very very long time in radio. I can he actually we actually did a sports podcast together with each other, so I know him very well. And he was a huge supporter of Jimmy Allen very early in Jimmy
Mhm.
Allen's career, right? When he loves an artist, he gets behind them wholeheartedly. Like Michael J is one of these people that, in my opinion, is he's a very giving person. I ended up in places that I probably shouldn't have been in, like on stage in front of a huge crowd right before Jimmy Allen went on one night. Right, like I shouldn't have been up there, right?
What you should have,
No,
Mike.
but no,
Yeah.
but where I was in that station at that point in time, right, where you're trying to like, I should like, he was like, you want to come on stage, and I was like, okay, right,
Sure.
but he was, I mean, in every opportunity he had, he told people about me. He was like, "Oh, you should listen to this guy, Big Mike. He's a very smart guy. This, that, and the other." Like, he was he was very giving with his time, and all I saw from him was that if you did good music, like it deserved to be on radio, and that's what I felt. How he felt about Jimmy. He didn't see those things, right? And it was just really awesome to see. And then WMZQ, they really got behind Jimmy Allen. They were early adopters of Jimmy Allen before he became the guy on Dancing with the Stars, right? Like he was there, like, and Jimmy was giving with his time. He showed up, right? And these people didn't have to be nice. Jimmy didn't have to be nice to me, right? And he was always giving and nice to me, and understood that I think I worked in country radio. He worked in country, like he was a country artist, and so I think he understood that we needed more people that look like us in the room. And
Mhm.
I think Michael J understood that too. And which is why he always had me, like, whenever we did something together, he made sure that people knew who I was. They knew who my name was, right? And so um, it's been an interesting journey, right? When it comes to Black artists, because Jimmy Allen was one of the first ones to really break through in a long time,
Mhm.
outside of Darius, right?
Mhm.
And then here you go, you get this cavalcade of other Black art but country artists coming, right? Then you got a guy named Willie Jones, and I know a guy, his name is Timmy Dunn, very good, talented guy out of Kentucky. I've had him on my podcast a couple of times when I was in DC. And then you realize that there's all of these Black artists,
Mhm.
right, that are showing up in mainstream. Mickey Guyton is another one that popped up right after Jimmy got really popular. So you start to understand that there's something out there. And I realized that I was probably in the right place. I had made the right decision because Jimmy showed up, and then Timmy showed up, and then Willie Jones showed up, and I was like, oh wait, I'm in the right spot. I made a great decision, right? And so that's the thing. One of the things that I've learned is that sometimes you just got to step out and let people get over themselves, and then they settle in, and then things like that. Yeah, Kane Brown, he was a young one as well, but you eventually people start to understand that it's not the skin that makes the song; it's the person that makes the song. And if they go, if they want to do country, then they can, right? And I love Jimmy because he is who he is in country every day, right? He loves country, and he shows up. People say, "Oh, you're in country." You tell him all the time, "Oh, you're in country. You shouldn't dress like that." And he goes, "Tell me how I should dress." I mean, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, people tell him those things all the time, and I love that he is unequivocally and unapologetically him. And so I love that these Black artists are starting to be who they are, right? Inside this genre. So they've been very welcoming. I've seen nothing but welcome. And I'm not saying there's no hate out there. I haven't experienced, because the people I've been around were welcoming to me. So but I'm not saying it's by far easy. I've seen other people experience other things, right? And so it's a journey. It's a journey, and you got to just keep taking one step in front of the other. Eventually, people are just going to get over it.
What is your I like asking this question because I'm always curious. What motivates you to want to educate more of the community about country music? What motivates that for you?
Because I believe that there are people on the fringes who want to feel like they're included, and it feels like there's no room for them. And for me personally, it's about being able to be different, but still celebrate your Blackness. That's what it's about for me, right? When I told those kids at that college that I loved NSYNC, it instantly made me a pariah. And I don't want any kid to feel like that. So if a kid walks up and goes, "I love country," it shouldn't make him a pariah. People they may not like country, but they should accept him, right? It's not a judgment on his Blackness. It's just something different, and that's okay, right? And when people act like there's no Black people in country music, that's not true.
Right.
And I want that little kid to be able to stand up for himself and go, "No, I love this, and we are in this, and I am proud of being in this, and I'm proud that I love this music." So that's really the motivation. Is I want people who feel like that, people who look like me, who love something different, to feel included. That's always the move for me, right? When I do things, it's because I'm trying to push the walls of the boundaries of what people think we have to be. My nails are painted. I know this is not related to music, but my nails are painted. I decided to do this probably 4 years ago, and people ask me why. Why you got your nails painted? And I was like, because I want to push the boundaries of what people accept as masculinity, right? I'm just as manly as the next guy, but I don't have to go prove it. I don't have to go prove it. And they're like, "Well, this, that, and the." I'm like, "I'm married." It doesn't, like, and even if I wasn't married, who cares? But it doesn't. And a dude came up to me. He was like, "Why do you have your toenails painted?" And he was like, "Does that make you manly?" And I was like, I may not be manly to you, but I'll still whoop your ass. So, like, with these painted nails, bro, like that. But it was those kind of comments that I'm like, no, you know what? I'm okay with ruffling feathers. And I tell people all the time, I'm built for this. I am built to cause a little chaos. I'm built for
I want that on a
it.
T-shirt.
It's
With these nails, bro. I want
yeah,
that on a T-shirt.
I
With
will
these
whoop your
nails.
ass. Yes.
That is a Big Mike brand shirt right there.
Quotable. With these nails, bro. I want that.
Yeah.
I
I
want that
will whoop
yesterday.
your ass. Yeah, like and to me, it's built behind feeling not accepted in any space, being on the fringes, being in between, not being black enough and being black, period. Right? And that's kind of where I sat for a very long time. And I got tired of being there in the middle because I am black.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you
Yes.
won't acknowledge me, I'm going to make you acknowledge me. And that's the bottom line. And so, like, and I think, and again, I think that to the people that I've met along the way, my buddy Lawrence, my buddy Brandon, who is unapologetically him no matter what, and I love him for it. But they help me become more comfortable. And so, if there are people like me that are like that, right, then I want you to feel comfortable as well. I want you to understand that you can like what you like, and it's okay. It's not a judgment on your blackness, and that's really the motivation for me.
I love that. I love that. Wow. An hour has flown by
I
already. I
know.
mean,
I probably talked way too
No,
much.
no, no,
no,
no.
not
I
at all.
pro-
There was a whole reason for you to be on is so that you can share your story because the whole point of Q Points is to talk about these stories, is to reclaim everything. Just as you said, the reason why people feel othered because they say they like country music is because somebody else came along and co-opted it
Mhm.
and took it from you and said, "You're this doesn't look like you. This is supposed to look like them." So therefore, now you have this feeling the way you feel. So I'm here for it. What I would like before we all get off of here, Mike, can you do one thing for me?
Yep.
Okay. Can you please, in your best radio voice, throw to your favorite artist? Because this is my old school radio thing. My ear, I want to
Man,
hear you throw to a break real quick or throw to a song.
you
And
will put me on the spot. I have not
well,
done a
think
radio
about
break in a very long time.
I want you to think about that, Mike. So I'm gonna give you time to think about that because
Okay.
everybody is in the chat like part two, part two, part two. Here's the thing that y'all don't know. We have to tell y'all the reason why Mike is here at this moment. This is our Juneteenth celebration. We wanted to have this conversation in honor of Juneteenth, which is on Sunday. But this is also the very beginning of a series with Big Mike. So not only will there be a part two, there will be a part two, a part three, a part four, and part five. What Q Points and Big Mike are going to be collaborating on is a black country music series. So hold on. It's all coming, and we are building because we want to have this conversation about black folks and country music and that history and how we got here. So there is going to be a part two, and this is the beginning of that. So I wanted to let people know that is the secret of this conversation. This is the beginning of a longer series of conversations that all of you will get a chance to hear. So it's coming. So now, Big Mike, who you throwing it to? Who you throwing?
Who am I throwing it to? Wow. Man, what are we going into a break? We're coming out of a song? What are we?
You're throwing to another song. As a matter of fact, make it an artist, a country artist that our listeners you think should get to know.
Okay. Let me see. It's been like 3 years. Hold on. Let me see. All right, folks. You're definitely gonna have to listen to this next artist here. She is on her way up. I promise you, you're not gonna want to miss it. Here is Raina Roberts.
You have it.
Typically that'd be over a bed or something. I'd have a little,
No beds,
like
just dry. We're gonna do it dry. WQ Points Radio. You heard it first. Big Mike on WQ Points Radio.
Well, I
for
feel
your
like there's a
country flag.
ring. I feel like there's a ring in a Q Points radio situation, y'all. But that's a whole
Hey, from
other.
my list of guys here, we can make that happen. We can have a whole radio station.
We can
I'm
listen.
in. I am
Look,
absolutely
And
in.
Big
I
we
would
Mike is
already
in
have a
want to.
program
too.
director.
Right.
I am in. 100% in.
Oh my goodness. So listen, Big Mike, where can the folks find you on social media?
You can find me at the True Big Mike without the E in True on Instagram and Twitter.
Perfect. And I'm also going to drop the links to both your podcasts in the chat. For those folks that are listening, one, shout out. The chat has been lit. We've been into the conversation, but I've been watching. I've seen Trey Sam. I've seen Trey. I've seen Kipper Jones. Who else is over there? Who else have I seen? I've seen some more names. But thank y'all just so much for hanging out with us tonight. But so if you are not familiar, folks can become a Q Points Insider on our website. You should subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, and you can also leave us a review there. You should also subscribe and leave us a review over on Podchaser. We say this every week, but it's true. If you leave us a review and a rating over there, it helps more people to discover the show because of the way Podchaser does their rating and reviews. It hits a lot of other places. So please hit up Podchaser. And I know that Trey has been over there and you left us a review over there. So we really appreciate you, brother. And for those folks that are joining, if you are not joining on YouTube, you should go over to YouTube. You can subscribe to us over there, hit the bell notification so you can get notified. And you need to hit up DJ Sir Daniel's Mixcloud because don't you have a Sugar Honey on the Rocks coming up, Sir Daniel?
Yes, sir. This Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know, like I said, it's summertime. I'm feeling real block parties and Miami sounds. You know, the whole I'm feeling freestyle. It's about to go down. It's about to go down on Saturday. So make some time, carve some time out on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. So that way all my West Coast friends can join us as well. And, just tune in so you can get the best in Black women in pop music, Black women in general. That's who I celebrate on Sugar Honey on the Rocks. And it's just a good time. I just have a really good time. I want to quickly shout out everybody. My sister Peppermint Gaddy, she's going to be in the lineup this weekend on All Vinyl, put on by Sean Phelan. It's going to be a really dope situation on Saturday. And then what's happening? No, that's Sunday. That's Sunday. And shout out to Whitney and Lady Marauder and DJ Ross Sirius are putting it down Saturday night for Slow Drag.
I
And your
miss
boy
Atlanta so
finally,
much.
oh my God,
I
your
miss
boy
Atlanta.
finally got a ticket. And I'm going to be in the house so I could experience Slow Drag for myself. I will not promise that I will be doing a 1-2 step slow dragging in the middle of the floor of anybody, but I will have great things to report the following week because I'm really super proud of everybody that's involved in slow drag. So if you're in the Metro Atlanta area this weekend, you've got plenty of stuff to do, and you can also tune into my show as well. So that's that for Sir Daniel this weekend.
Oh my goodness, that's a busy weekend. Listen, so much. Any final thoughts, Big Mike, before we head out of here?
Man, I appreciate you two brothers. Like I appreciate you both. Like for you both coming into my life and having an opportunity to be able to do this, and you both helping me create a platform where we can really push this forward. And I believe it deserves. I believe country music, especially African American country music, deserves the respect, right? And I believe that there's so many things that we have our footprint in, our fingerprint in, and country music is definitely one of them. And so I appreciate you two. I appreciate Q Points and the platform that you guys provide for people to come on here and talk about the things that they actually care about. And I'm so excited for our series. I've been waiting. This is like months in the making. So excited. I can't wait to work with you guys further. Thank you. I appreciate you both.
feeling is mutual.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, y'all. It has been a phenomenal night. Thank you so much once again to Big Mike for being here. And thank you to all of you for checking in. Thank you so much, Trey Sam, for shouting us out and saying excellent show. We really appreciate it. We do
Thank
this
you.
for y'all. We really, really do appreciate that. And Sir Daniel, what do you say? What do you normally say to the folks?
Listen, it's like I tell the kids every week, in this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I'm Sir Daniel.
And I'm Jay Ray, y'all. And that's
This has
Big
been Q,
Mike.
and that's Big Mike. And this has been Q Points. We'll see you next week.
Peace.